My family was just murdered. I never thought I'd be sleeping with the killer. The first victim was just an innocent young couple found dead in their car together. But this was no normal killing. Whatever monster murdered them went over the top, mangled apart with their tongues ripped out and their eyes completely gone. The rumor in the town was that it was some sort of wild beast killing people. But the truth was so much worse. My mom laughed when I told her about the rumor of the Gosbeck's Knoll beast. Apparently the beast was around in her high school days too. 2 people turned up dead before it stopped. Conveniently, at the same time, a bear was brought down in the area. She tried comforting me, saying it was likely just a bear. No human would do anything that disgusting to another human, right? Maybe it'll spare your eyes if it gets you, she said, as if that was supposed to make me feel any better. I never would have guessed how much worse the truth was. My mother always makes jokes about my eyes since I have heterochromia, which means that my eyes are different colors. Maybe the beast would be into you because of your eyes. My mother chuckled. My mother clearly didn't take it too seriously, but when I'd gotten to school after the first incident, I immediately knew something was deeply wrong. Everyone was quiet, and a lot of people were crying. I found my friend Trent and asked him what was up. He criticized me for not checking my Facebook before he told me. Douglas Stafford, better known as Doug. Everyone loved him. He was a nice guy, even to me. I'd gotten lost on my first day of freshman year, and he pointed me in the right direction. He even offered to walk me there. I never talked to him again, but man, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. He'd turned up dead in his parents' garage. His face gnawed on just like the pair from earlier. The next day there was a school assembly where the principal even teared up a bit and told us that it was okay if we were upset, and if necessary we could take an absence from class to talk to the school counselor. Doug's girlfriend Kathy was in the front row bawling. They dated since their little freshman years, and it was pretty obvious they would have one day gotten a house with a white picket fence and a dog. Kathy was the last casualty of the school year. A few months later she was found dead in the forest. The beast hadn't been the one to kill her though. She'd hung herself, and apparently Beastie helped himself to a late night snack. During the summer everything went quiet, and soon the talks of dead teens faded into the background. I think Doug's parents started up a fund for depressed youth. I spent 90% of the summer in my bedroom playing way too many video games. I also came out on Facebook. I got a lot of approval. A lot of "you're perfect the way you are," and a lot of "dude, it was obvious." However, Trent didn't see it as most people did. He unfriended me almost immediately, and when I got back to school he'd apparently been bad-mouthing me to our mutual friends. None of them wanted anything to do with me anymore. It hurt. I won't lie, it hurt a lot, but I chose to ignore it for the most part, so I lost all my close friends. Big deal. I could get new ones. Yeah, no, not happening. Like I said, my social skills suck. The only reason Trent and I were friends in the first place was because we were assigned to be project partners in the 4th grade. We got a B, and now whenever he talked to me, every other sentence had a few slurs thrown in some place. Shows how little I knew about my best friend, right? But this is when the murders really picked up the pace. The first victim of junior year was Camille Dunn. She'd missed her bus home and decided to walk. The next morning, a dog walker found her stretched out on the sidewalk, eyes gone and face eaten off. The beast was back. Clearly there was some madman or wild animal on the loose, and everyone put up their guard. But now I think this is when the beast got really cocky. He realized he could get away with this. The next victims were in their damn house. An elderly couple, John and Beatrice. They lived across the street from me. When I woke up the next morning to sirens, my heart sank. I thought Beatrice's heart finally gave out on her. Nope, the beast just decided to up his game by ripping out said heart. It was the same thing though, ate the faces and the eyes. It got into the house through the back window, judging by the bloody prints. Kids whispered about how supposedly the prints looked like humans but clawed. Sightings of the beast grew in number. A freak that had fangs and glowing eyes, his only desire being to hunt and kill. Of course, my mom immediately kicked in a curfew and kept the house secure. At night, I'd hear her wake up and walk around as if to make sure we were safe. I believed in the beast when she saw it too. I woke up to hear her scream and I ran to the source. My mom was white as a ghost, her hand on her heart as she stared out the now empty window. It was there. I don't know what it was, but call the police right now. I grabbed the junior baseball bat I used as a kid and called 911. Cops showed up surprisingly fast, and Mom told them what happened while her eyes still darted to the window on occasion. She'd gone down because she couldn't sleep, and it was at the window. Its shape was vaguely humanoid, but its eyes did in fact glow. That's when she screamed. It must have not expected her to see it as it took off running. And sure enough, when I went into the backyard the next morning, its feet were indeed clawed. I didn't bother collecting evidence, as I'm sure everyone would have thought I faked it, but I knew the beast was real. This was only the beginning of what would soon be my worst nightmare. 2 days later, I got kidnapped by my so-called friend. I was walking home from school when Trent ran up behind me, acting all buddy-buddy until he got close. Then I felt a switchblade press against my side. Trent was still smiling, but it was cold. Dark. Start walking, you effing freak. I didn't try to be the hero and get the knife. Trent was bigger than me and I didn't have a prayer. We walked until we got to his car, where he pushed me into the back seat and he duct-taped my hands and feet together. He drove us out of town to this abandoned old shed. 2 other guys I didn't know were waiting there, and I saw more knives. I was close to pissing myself while still being neck-deep in denial. Surely this had to be a joke though. Just a prank to scare me. Trent dragged me inside and slammed the door. It was dark and I couldn't see a thing. I got whacked in the stomach and the air whooshed out of my lungs. "How many times did you touch me when I slept over, huh?" I could hear the sneer in Trent's voice. I groaned as I was shoved to my knees. "Never, Trent. You're not exactly my type," I said as I struggled against the tape. I got kicked across the face and I hit the floor. I felt one of my teeth come loose and blood start to pool in my gums. Trent squatted down next to me. I could barely make out his silhouette in the cracks in the shed. Liar, you're a freak. And now you're gonna be another victim of the Gosbeck's Knoll beast, old buddy. I felt the blade press right beneath my blue eye. Hope your mommy doesn't miss your creepy-ass eyes. I wanted to shut my eyes. Hoped that he'd drive the knife right into my brain so I didn't have to feel it. Instead, I felt my eyes stay wide open as the blade glinted, and I suddenly made out Trent and his 3 Goonies. Yeah, 3 Goonies. There were only 2 outside the shed. Guess the beast really doesn't care for copycats. I heard the scream before the tallest of the figures slammed the other 2 heads together. When standing straight up, he almost reached the ceiling. Trent whipped around and the blade nicked below my eye. What the heck? Another whack and Trent was on the ground. I heard him choking and realized I smelled blood. The figure moved on to me and he hoisted me up to his level. I felt claws tear my shirt. I was certain I'd be dead. Then I felt the monster pause. Eyes? I passed out. When I woke up, it was now dark outside and we were no longer in the shed. Now we were in a cabin lit by a lantern, and I saw the beast in his entirety. He looked vaguely human, wearing what looked like a loincloth, had pale skin and black stringy hair that hung down his back. His skin was occasionally broken up by patches of scales, and his fingers looked like a tiny blade stuck out of each. His spine was lined with thin bristles that would rise and fall with each breath. Trent was hung up in the corner by a hook, awake and filled with terror. I could smell more blood. The beast examined Trent's face thoughtfully before his middle finger carved through his cheek. I shut my eyes tight when I heard Trent scream. The beast made almost no sound at all, other than a soft hum as he worked on carving off Trent's face. When I took a peek, I saw the gleaming white of Trent's cheekbones. My eyes shut again. Finally, when the screams went quiet, I heard footsteps approach, felt his huge presence kneel over me. His hair smelled like pondweeds. Open your eyes. I did, although I'm not sure why. His face was kinda human, had a strong nose and gaunt features, but it was his eyes that caught me. They glowed all right, but the left one was yellow, and the right eye was violet. The beast inhaled sharply before his hand reached up to my face. I flinched and tilted my head away, but he only hushed me as he lightly caressed my cheek. His claws didn't even break skin. Eyes, they don't match. I swallowed. Neither do yours, I pointed out. The beast grinned, his crooked teeth flecked with blood. No, they don't, he said, almost if he was trying not to laugh. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I reached up to touch his face too. His skin was oily. It almost reminded me of a fish. They look good though, I offered. Play nice with the monster, maybe you can go home. This comment struck him. He looked shocked. Then he pulled me into the most uncomfortable hug of my life. Only one? Thought I was the only one? He sobbed. I felt his greasy tears hit the top of my head. Really not sure of how to handle this, I patted his back, careful to avoid the spines. God knew they were probably poisonous. Thankfully, the beast seemed to appreciate this. I'm really not sure how I fell asleep with a giant stinky monster practically spooning me. But when I woke up, the police were there. According to them, someone called 911 from my phone and told them where to find me. Trent's body was found strung up in the other room with the other 2 guys. They'd been almost entirely butchered. It was a miracle I was alive, according to the police. I haven't seen him since that night, but sometimes I catch a glimpse of those mismatched eyes.